Good morning, everybody, and welcome to day 2 of Amplify, which is on the topic of rewire your thinking. I'm Andy Gardner. I'm a senior analyst in the investment management team at AMP Capital, and I'm going to be the host for this section. A warm welcome to visitors to AMP and first-time amplifiers, members of the media, and all the online community which are joining us via the live stream. Also, great to see many of the board members of AMP here, as well as many of my colleagues whom I know from around the firm. We're also going to give a warm welcome, special welcome, you could say, some researchers from CSIRO, Australia's National Science Agency. At AMP, we partner with leading research organisations like CSIRO to understand how the world is changing and where innovation and disruption are occurring. And we've been working very closely with CSIRO in conjunction with Tony Seba on the topic of this first session, which is on clean disruption. And clean disruption is very relevant to AMP in that our property portfolio is one of the most sustainable in the world, given the implementation of smart buildings, energy efficiency, cybersecurity, waste and water technologies, whilst our direct infrastructure fund has around 20% of its exposure to thematic trends, including clean energy. A couple of housekeeping points. Of course, we encourage you all to engage in the conversation via social media. Please go to our pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and use the hashtag AmplifyFest. We also encourage you, if you haven't already, to download the Amplify app. It enables you to check in, ask questions, take and share notes, and contribute to the CEO Challenge. Give you a quick, brief rundown on how this session will go. Firstly, our sponsor will introduce the speaker. The speaker will present for around 20 to 25 minutes. When he's finished, we want to engage in a conversation about what we've just heard. So we encourage you all to please ask questions by putting up your hand, stating your name and where you're from. We've got 3 books of Tony's best-selling book, Clean Disruption, to give away to those people who do ask questions, so there's an extra motivation. And then we'll go try and wrap up the whole session about 10 minutes before the hour. I'm going to finish promptly at 9:55 so that we can bring in the next speaker. So if you could please join me in welcoming the sponsor of this session, the President of Staples for Australia and New Zealand, Jay Mutchler, to introduce the speaker. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, good morning and welcome to AMP's Amplify Festival 2015. As mentioned, I'm Jay Mutchler, President of Staples, Australia and New Zealand. And as a company, we are very proud to be associated with this leading festival for business innovation and a sponsor for this morning's keynote presentation by Tony Seba. Tony lives in San Francisco. I used to live in San Francisco, so he was giving me a little touch. I was homesick, so he was telling me a little bit about how things are back home. Tony is a lecturer in entrepreneurship, disruption, and clean energy at Stanford University, a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, and a world-renowned thought leader and speaker. His advice is sought by policymakers, investors, and corporations around the world. And in addition to this, Tony is a best-selling author. Tony's high-profile work focuses on market disruption and the combination of technology trends and business model and product innovations that are on the cusp of disrupting the world's major industries. Today, Tony is going to share with us insights on how clean disruption is rebooting business paradigms. With transportation a key interest for us at Staples due to our extensive supply chain operations, I have particular interest in hearing what Tony has to say and learning from his presentation. So I'm sure his insights will be highly relevant for myself and for all of us this morning. And please join me in welcoming Tony Seba.
Thank you for that introduction. So I only have, 24 minutes? So let me get to it. I want to take you into the future. That's what I do. I talk about disruption, all the exponential technologies and business models that are changing everything. But before I take you into the future, I want to take you into the past. Has anyone been to New York lately? Can you see this picture? Can anyone see the car in this picture. There is one car in this picture. Do we have a book for? No. There it is. So that's New York City, 1900, Fifth Avenue. There was one car in that picture. 1913, where is the horse? Can anyone see the horse? New York City went from all horse to all car in 13 years. 13 years. That is what we call a disruption. And it happens, when it happens, very, very quickly. And at the time, it was caused by a then high technology called the gasoline car. So what is a disruption? It's a product, it's what happens when a product or service, technology-based usually, creates a market and then either destroys or radically transforms an existing market. That's a disruption. It's not always destructive, but many times it is. So, what happens with disruptive opportunities for those of you who are entrepreneurs is that the experts and the insiders are the ones who usually dismiss the opportunities. And they say, oh no, that's not going to happen. Or if it is going to happen, it's not going to happen anytime soon. So it's usually the experts who dismiss these opportunities. Now, one of the main things that causes disruptions is what's called exponential technologies. And I'll show you an example. This was the world's biggest, most powerful supercomputer in the year 2000. It was called ASCII Red. It cost $46 million, and it was bigger than this room. 2000. In the year 2015, he's holding a computer that is twice as powerful as what I just showed you. 15 years, and it costs $59. Okay? It's a 1,000,000-time improvement in cost in a matter of 15 years. That's what exponential technologies are. And what they can do is amazing. So when you have 10 or 12 exponential technologies, and I'll show you a few, data storage, for instance, digital imaging, which disrupted which company? Kodak, yes. Network capacity, Cisco systems, internet, Moore's law, which is about computing. When you get a combination or convergence of some of these exponential technologies plus business model innovations, then you can have major disruptions. Today I'm going to tell you about 3 disruptions that are coming, that are starting to happening, and that are on the cusp of disrupting about $12 trillion a year in revenue, which is basically energy and transportation. Solar has improved by 200 times its cost basis since 1970. 22% every 2 years or so. 1970, it was $100 a watt. Today, 50 cents. 50 cents. And it's still going down. The market for solar has been going up. Despite everything you hear in the media, solar globally has been growing at a 42% compound annual growth rate since the year 2000. 42%. That means it's doubling every 2 years. Now think, how many more doublings do we need until solar is 100% of the world's energy? It's been doubling every year, 2 years. I'll tell you what, 2030. If it keeps doubling every 2 years, by 2030, solar will be 100% of the world's energy. Not electricity, energy. Okay? So the question is, can solar keep growing at this rate? So that's the question we need to ask and answer. So let's compare solar with conventional energies. Every single source of energy has gone up in price by 6 to 16 times since 1970. So when you put this together, you figure, wow, solar has improved by anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 times relative to all of these technology resources. Interesting. But wait, solar is already cheaper than what you pay for electricity in hundreds of markets around the world today. And solar is improving in price, so that by 2017, it'll be cheaper than retail electricity in about 80% of global markets. 2017, 2 years away. But wait, there's more, right? Because solar is a technology. Remember, solar is a technology. It's not a resource. The resource is the sunshine. And it's still free. Still free, right? So by 2020, solar will have improved another 50%, which means 400 times since 1970. And if we put all these numbers together, it means that by 2020, solar will have improved by anywhere from 2,000 to 6,000 times relative to coal, nukes, oil, gas. It doesn't matter what. Solar keeps improving in cost, resources don't. So you get exponential improvements in the cost basis of solar. Now, this means that the solar market may actually accelerate because it's improving its cost basis. And that's called grid parity. When solar is cheaper than retail electricity, it's called grid parity. We're going to get there around the world over the next few years. And I'm saying, forget grid parity. Let's talk about God parity. Now, what is God parity? It's the point of no return. Think about the fact that most electricity is generated in central generating stations, and then there's a transmission line that brings that electricity to your home. That transmission costs about 50% of what you pay for electricity. What if the cost of solar generation on your rooftop were cheaper than the cost of transmission? Not generation, transmission. At that point, even if you generate at zero, back there, coal, nukes, oil, gas, even if you generate at zero, which is impossible, when you add the cost of transmission, you still cannot compete with solar on your rooftop. At that point, the existing business model of central generating stations is obsolete. At that point, utilities don't have a prayer. That's why it's called God parity. So nukes, coal, gas, all of these are going to be obsolete by about 2020. We're not talking 40 years, we're talking 2020. So the rate of growth of solar will actually accelerate because of this green, not because of environmental green, because solar will be the cheapest source of energy. Now, so solar will continue to grow and become the #1 source of energy. Wind is going to be #2. Wind is going to complement it, but solar by far is going to be the one technology. Second disruption, electric vehicles. Has anyone heard of the Tesla? Yeah, of course. So the Tesla Model S has been called the car of the year by Motor Trends magazine. Consumer Reports, an independent magazine, called it the best car ever. Ever. Not the best EV ever, the best car ever. And it's already outselling BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and so on in its category in the US. So that's pretty interesting. But of course, who can afford a Tesla? Who can afford an electric vehicle? And by the way, this is not my car. I don't own a car. I don't own a car. And I'll come back to why that is. But first of all, let's ask the question, is the electric vehicle disruptive? Because, you can buy a $100,000 Ferrari, right? And so what is the difference between that and the Tesla Model S? So here's one thing. The electric motor is 5 times more energy efficient than the gasoline vehicle. 5 times. And there's nothing that Detroit can do about that, because there's something called the laws of thermodynamics. So that's the upper limit that you're going to get with an internal combustion engine. 5 times more energy efficient. And partly because of that, and partly because it's easier to move electrons, electricity, than it is to move gasoline, the cost per mile of charging an electric car costs 10 times less than to charge a gasoline vehicle. 10 times. Anytime you have a 10x improvement, you could have a disruption. This is your car, okay? Your car has 2,000 to 3,000 moving parts. Moving parts. That's why maintenance is so expensive. That's why they break down. Now, an electric vehicle has 18 moving parts. 100 times fewer parts than the internal combustion engine. What that means is that it's anywhere from 10 to 100 times cheaper to maintain. And that's why a Tesla is giving infinite mile warranty. Infinite. Infinite. Drive it to the moon and back, drive around the earth 25 times, and they will maintain it, because EVs don't break down. So if you go on and on and on, all of these qualities make electric vehicles disruptive. So what's going to happen in the end is that the cost performance curve that we've got used to is going to shift. So today, you want the Porsche, you pay Porsche prices. You want high performance, you pay high prices. You want medium performance, you want the Buick, you pay Buick prices. You pay $40,000, you pay $50,000. What the electric vehicle is going to do is this: shift that equation so that you'll buy Porsche performance at Buick prices. That's because the electric motor is so much more powerful. And there's nothing that car manufacturers can do about that. Nothing. Now, the question is, when is that going to happen? When is that going to happen? And that's where the exponential technology trends come in. So if we take the decrease in battery costs, this is what's going to happen. By 2017, 2018, the electric vehicle industry will be able to produce a car that goes 200 miles, 320 kilometers, for $40,000. That's only 2 years away, $40,000, which means it's going to disrupt. Did I say Porsche performance for Buick prices? 2 years from now, 3 years from now, okay? Now that's going to disrupt all cars that cost $40,000 or more. By 2020, the industry will produce a $31,000 EV. Did I say Porsche performance? $31,000 EV. Okay, that's going to disrupt about 50% of the market, because that is the average cost of a car, a new car. By 2022, 2023, the industry will produce a $20,000 EV that goes to 100 miles. So that's the low end. So it's going to disrupt the low end. And because of the exponential technology curve going down, that is going to keep improving. So by 2025, 2030, essentially there's going to be no reason to buy a petrol car. None. Zero. the industry will be disrupted. All new cars by 2030, maybe 2025, will be electric, period. And that's a disruption. Now, here's an interesting data point. Foxconn, the computer company that manufactures your iPhone or iPad, announced that they're getting into the EV business. A computer company. How is that possible? Why? Because essentially think of electric vehicles as computers on wheels. Did I say they have 18 moving parts? That's it. Otherwise, it's just a computer. Big battery with wheels, and it moves. And they're targeting $15,000. Not 40, not 30, $15,000. Okay, the last disruption I want to talk about is the self-driving car. So just as big a disruption. The self-driving car, so Renault, Nissan, has announced that by 2018, they're going to launch a self-driving car. 2018, that's 3 years away. How is that possible? Because the technology is ready. That's why. Now, this is what a self-driving car sees. This is how they see the world. And to do this, so it's a 360 laser. They emit 1 million pulses per second, and it bounces back as a radar, and they paint a picture of the world 1 million times per second. Now, when Google announced that the costs for its self-driving car were $150,000, what did experts say? Not going to happen, right? Not going to happen anytime soon. That's too expensive. $70,000 for a LiDAR, that's too much money, right? It's not going to happen anytime soon. What did happen was that LiDAR went down to $10,000 within a year. And this year, a Silicon Valley company announced a LiDAR for $1,000. Exponential technology improvements. $1,000. So suddenly, it's not going to cost more to own a self-driving car than just an EV, right? And by the way, did I mention that this supercomputer is going to drive this car? This supercomputer, $59, is going to process the information that comes from that LiDAR. What used to cost $59 million just 15, 20 years ago. So 2, 3, 4 exponential technologies joining together to create the autonomous vehicle. Now, so what? So we're going to be able to email, do Facebook, Twitter. Is anyone tweeting now? So we're going to be able to do all that while we not drive, right? And we're going to do all kinds of fun things if we want to. So what? Is that disruptive? Yeah. Does that mean we're going to just work more? That's not fun. I mean, where is the disruption? Let me give you one example of how this is going to disrupt things. Today, where is your car? Parked. We park our cars 96% of the time. So you're spending 40, 50 grand for a car to park it 96% of the time. That is such a waste of everything, of parking space, of your money, of everything. Now, imagine that instead of parking it 96% of the time, cars were driving, self-driving 90% of the time. That would flip the equation. So if you want to own a car, it takes you to work, and then basically you say, go on and pick up other people and make money. Make me money for the other 96% of the time. Does that make sense? So it's going to flip the equation, and when cars go from 90% parked to 90% being used, what's going to happen? A few things are going to happen. One is the cost to not own a car but get the same service is going to be 10 times cheaper. So on a per mile basis, imagine Uber with self-driving cars. it's going to be 10 times cheaper than owning a car. That's, instead of paying $40,000 to buy it, keep 90% of that. Keep 36 grand and do other things with it, right? So when that happens, the whole concept of car ownership is going to be obsolete. We don't need a car anymore because there are going to be 1 million cars that are going to pick us up anytime, anywhere, and take us anywhere for 1/10 of the cost. And this is going to cause major disruptions. Like what? We're going to need 80% fewer cars because cars are going to be driving around instead of being parked. So the auto industry, which produces 100 million cars per year, is going to implode. It's going to shrink to produce 80% fewer cars. So a lot of auto manufacturers are going to die, right? And what else is going to happen? Oh, and by the way, Uber did announce that they're working with Carnegie Mellon University to create their own self-driving car. So this is not just an idea, it's already happening. So let's put all of this together. It's 2015, we are here, okay? We are that one car that is difficult to see, and we can't see the disruption coming because it's just one car, right? But these technologies, solar, EVs, sensors, self-driving cars, supercomputing, and so on, are in the process of disrupting all of these industries, energy and transportation. So the industrial era, the coal and the nukes and the gas and the oil, the industrial era of energy and transportation is on the cusp of being disrupted. And it's being replaced by technologies. The EV, the self-driving car, their computers on wheels. Solar is silicon. It's a technology. So my predictions, based on all of this for 2030, all new energy is going to be solar by 2030, complemented by wind. All new vehicles will be electric, all of them, which means petroleum is going to be obsolete. And all new vehicles will also be autonomous, which means car insurance, obsolete, right? Parking, obsolete. Manufacturers are going to implode. We're going to need 80% fewer cars. All of this is going to happen within the next 10 to 15 years. This is not really in the future. It's already happening. It's already now. Thank you.